Hello, hi Tammy. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. Good morning.
Yeah, so friends, we have here Tammy, and I'm really fascinated to interview her. And in a while, you will know a lot about her and what is her lovely healing experience and how she turned into a coach, all that stuff. So let me give you a small brief about Tammy. So a shy and introverted girl, underlined to be underlined, friends, okay, raised on a farm in a four-square home in what is this WI, Tammy?
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin. Okay.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Where the land was littered with maple and pine trees and dandelion grew free. You need to be a poet, Tammy. So try though she may, she seemed to have luck against her, becoming an avid reader of positive mental attitude and self-help books. Life should have gotten better, but it didn't. It got worse. The harder she tried, the worse it got. Searching for why bad things always happened to her, she was tired of tired of trying to control her life with no results. Why we'll get to know in a while, friends. At her lowest point, she found something that finally empowered. What did she find? Also, will come to know in a while. Her to see something totally different, to be able to create solutions that worked like magic. Yes, it is indeed magic, friends. Her healing experience is wonderful. Now she is sharing it with others around the world to give hope that just because you think your circumstances create your life, it might be more true that your memories are driving all the programs. She now creates and facilitates and finds what it is that you need in order for you to live the life you are created for. That is amazing to know about you. So let's move on to know about Tammy more from herself. So Tammy, how did you get into this field of healing and coaching?
Oh, it's so exciting because I guess I stumbled across it really. And this was at the lowest point of my life, which was I had already been through divorce and then was remarried and 10 years, I think it was about, well, I don't know. It was quite a while after my divorce, 9 years maybe, then all of a sudden my ex-husband wanted more time with the kids and he was getting married. And according to the state of Wisconsin, he could have 50% of the time. But they were, two of them were teenagers. And this was a very traumatic to see them going through it. And I think that's what was hardest on me was
Hmm.
that I was out of control of their life, which I had been able to control, able to be such a big part of their life all the way up until this point. And so I remember laying in bed and I mean, it was so hard to get out of bed. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I was just no energy. And I
Oh,
remember smelling the sheets and they smelled like sweat and toil and tears. And my mom was rubbing my back and she's like a really small, sweet lady, but she was fiercely angry because I was actually having a miscarriage
sorry.
because of all the stress that I was putting my body under. It couldn't maintain that kind of stress and viably keep a baby alive. And she was angry at him because the conversation that him and I had had um, was it left me feeling hopeless, right? And so I came across this guy on YouTube. I came across this woman who was saying she healed her body and she was hooked up to all these machines and she was doing this technique. And as she was walking on the machines, as she was she was hooked up to everything, she did this technique and they were watching her body change. They're like, what are you doing? And so I started getting fascinated, like, what are they talking about? Like my thoughts, like I'm a positive thinker. I think positively all the time. But the stories that I was actually letting run my life were not positive. Right. And I just didn't know how to change them. And so that's where the journey began. That was 2011.
Mhm.
So Do you want me to go on?
Yes, yes, yes. Please don't stop because I'm super excited.
Okay, good.
Yes,
So
yes.
then
What
in
happened next?
So that worked really well for me. Like I just felt like I did this technique for 2 hours. I felt like the sun was coming out. I felt like there's hope. And instead of, feeling so hopeless as I was holding my kids and they're, sobbing on my shoulders, instead of me feeling like there's no hope, I had some sense that something that I can change some of the stuff that I'm doing inside of my own head that's causing me to be in so much pain. Okay. And so then I used this technique off and on. The court case turned out very pleasantly, actually, in my favor, which was great. I mean, in the children's favor, I would say, because they still went to their dad's 35%, and it wasn't 50-50. They still got to be homeschooled, and there was a lot of good things that came out of it. And so then years later in 2017, I ended up smashing my toe. My toe broke into 8 pieces, and it brought up an old injury in my left knee. So I had ACL reconstructed in high school, well, right out of high school, the year I graduated. And then that was swelling all the time. I was in pain all the time. So I go to the doctor and they do this x-ray and they're like, well, you don't have an ACL. And I was like, yeah, I do. They reconstructed it. Like they already fixed that. And he's like, well, it disintegrated. So he's like, not only that, you don't have a meniscus, you're bone on bone, you have arthritis from here to here. Your bone isn't big enough to put another ligament in. You need a total knee replacement. Because I have a huge screw, which I didn't even know. Like when I saw the thing, I'm like, oh my word, that's my knee. It was kind of a shock. Like that's inside me. And I said, I'm getting another opinion. So I got another opinion. They said the same thing. And then I went and sent my MRI to California because they do a bionic knee there. And I was like, well, for sure I can do a bionic knee instead of a total knee replacement. And he turned me down for his signature product that he obviously wants everyone to use, turned me down. So I thought, what if this weird tapping brain training stuff works? Like this other lady healed herself. What if it works? So I had a couple of sessions with somebody, and I'll never forget the day that she said, close your eyes and make it worse.
Make it worse.
Make it worse. And I could. That's the thing. And I said, well, this is physical. Like I have the MRI, I have the x-ray machine, I have all the doctors that said this. And she said, close your eyes and imagine the pain. Can you make it worse? And I said, yes, it's getting worse right now. Like I can't even move it. And she said, then there's an emotional component to it. And I was like, ah, right? It should stay the same. If I'm not moving and I have an injury, like I'm sitting in the same spot and I can make it worse, can I make it better?
Better? Why not? Okay.
Why not? Good question. So I practiced this technique every single time I felt pain. I used what I learned that's going to work for me. And here's what's really important that I do for my clients is I use what works for them. Okay. And then we train the brain to spend more time in peace and happiness and joy and love than it does in all those other emotions that are causing trauma. And of course, there's memories. And the reason memories drive us is because we know in the back of our mind, we believe something in that memory. And what we believe, we look for in our daily life. But it's usually what we don't want, isn't it? Yeah. And I didn't want to be fake. And I didn't want to be seen as somebody that's trying to soak the system, like my knee hurts. And so now you have to do all the chores and you have to, and I didn't want that so bad that I created it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, Tammy. I'm just like curious. So once you started attending, started taking sessions from this lady and you made it worse, and then you understood that there is an emotional component attached to it, then what happened? How many days? Like, because I'm more curious, like you were about to go for a total knee replacement and
Right.
you started working on your emotions, and how much time did it take for you to get
Yeah.
healed?
It
What
was
exactly happened?
So the cool thing was, when I broke my toe, it was the beginning of October. My
Mhm.
knee started going bad in November, and I had gone all those doctor's appointments. And then the beginning of December was when I started looking into this and doing it and having some
Mhm.
sessions. And my total knee replacement was scheduled for December 27th. And that was because, it's the end of the year, all the insurance deductibles and whatever. So I'm like, I only have a few weeks, before I am in surgery, and I'm not going to not do it if there's not any hope, because I don't want to spend all the extra money we're going to have to spend next year. And in the spring, I get really busy with my pony party business. So 2 weeks, I was off crutches. It was so bad that when I would sit down, I would before I stood up, I would be like, okay, breathe, think, like, okay, this is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. So angle your like I was prepare myself before I even stood up for all the pain that was gonna happen. And within 2 weeks, I wasn't preparing myself when I stood up. That's
And
how
you're off the stretcher within 2 weeks.
I was on crutches.
Crutches, yeah.
And it was swelling, like my knee was constantly swollen,
Mhm.
and the swelling went down so much, and the pain and the fact that most of the time I could walk without it hurting,
Wow.
that I would stand up without thinking, oh, I better prepare myself and angle my knee and make sure that I hold my other leg just so, and like I had this routine so I didn't hurt myself, and I wasn't doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. And what happened too, I just want to add this was, you know, when I released some of the emotions, some of the trauma from the memories that were driving this pain, I also opened up new options. Like things would come to my into my peripheral, and I was like, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. So anything that came up, collagen, fulvic acid, uh, I was doing some melt thing, which is like to loosen up my ligaments and tendons. And so, but once my brain opened up, then that's what I was talking about. Then you start looking for the answer instead of being stuck
Wow.
in the past. Yeah, 2 weeks. And I was like, I'm canceling my knee appointment, and I haven't gone back to the doctor for it since.
That's amazing. I mean, so friends, we have live example that what all we could do once we rewire our brains and heal the past. So,
Right.
okay. Um, Tammy, you grew up reading a lot of positive books, right? Motivational book and positive mental attitude and all that. I'm not saying that they don't help. Yet, why do motivational books don't help everyone?
So this is so fascinating because I was a positive mindset junkie.
Mhm. Thank you.
That's what I did. I was reading books, I was trying, trying, trying. And what that did inside my brain was create a trying groove. So think of your brain has grooves,
Mhm.
and the deep groove, everything falls in, right? Have you ever met that person that doesn't matter what you do, they're going to be angry?
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you're like, oh, that makes you, oh, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm walking on eggshells. I can't do anything because they're going to be angry. Or that person that's always sad. And you're like, oh, another sad. Oh, and then, oh my gosh, like your life is, you know, because their brain is grooved so deeply, and they've driven their, their reticular activating system. They've driven their focus to find what they don't want. And so they're making that groove bigger and bigger. So when I was in a trying groove, that's not happiness. That doesn't make me feel good. That doesn't leave me achieving or doing or being anything that actually benefits me and moves me towards my goal. It just leaves me trying and failing, not coming up good enough, because all that trying is never going to achieve that goal of happiness, that goal of peace or fulfillment. It's going to just leave you trying. And so the books are great. And I can go back and read them and be like, oh, now I see what they're saying. But I was focused on something different when I was reading those books. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is that, and also that it's very rare that a person actually asks you to deal with what is driving the brain to have to be positive. You know,
Yeah.
like, what is it in my past that I believe that I have to read all of these books in order to change? Like, what do I need to fix about myself? I was in a fix myself mindset, and that means I'm broken. Yeah. And so when I was told, you're not broken, your brain is working just the way it's created, just the way it's designed. The thing is, you didn't know that you designed it for misery and sadness and pain and loss and hurt. I didn't know I was designing it to do that. And the positive, the striving for positive mental attitude was just proof that I had to fix myself.
It was a never-ending story until you found the solution.
Right. Yeah, I remember the day that I was like, even with this, the brain training, I was trying, and I was like, I want to be knowing what I'm doing, and I want to be good at this, and all these things. And I remember one day I was just sitting there and I'm like, if the goal is to be happy, I need to be happy.
Yes.
I need to create the happy groove. Like, how can I make my happy groove bigger? And then the light bulb came on and I was like, oh, this makes me happy. This, like, I already knew what made me happy. I wasn't doing it. Yeah. And so then I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. I'll just go do that, and I'll go be that. And then things effortlessly happened.
Wow. So that was the light bulb moment for you.
Yeah, I've had several, right?
Yes, several. So you are now illuminating others' lives as well. So, Tammy, you had been through, because you openly shared about your story of how you went through the divorce and a lot of trauma, and then your knee issue, then your toe, then you had been, not that you did not try, you had been trying with all these motivational books and positive mental attitude. Finally, you are a living example how you have healed yourself, and with your experience, you have created this 90 days program
Right.
to help others. So, could you please tell more about what exactly is this 90-day program? What happens when someone enrolls into the program? What do we learn?
Yes. And the thing is that, when you know how, when you've come through something and you know what it takes to do this for yourself, within yourself, then you definitely want to give to others what's going to give them that leg up, or what's going to give them a faster result towards that. And that's what I feel like the 90-day program does for others, because not only is it everything that worked for me and others,
Others.
but I feel like it gives them what they need to get through it faster. All right. So I had sessions, sessions with upper level practitioners, either once a week or every other week for certain periods and things like that. And those are so beneficial. I say sessions will dive down deep and find those resources and help you flip them. However, like, practicing with a group of people twice a week is so important. So I've added this in. So let me just explain. The program
Please.
shifts the memories that are driving this brain power.
Mhm.
So if you're wondering, like, how come I'm always angry, or how come I'm always sad? There's something in your past before you were the age of 7 that's holding power. And it doesn't even have to be something you did. It can be something you saw, something that's been done to you, or something that you did do yourself. But these memories are telling your brain to focus on that. It's giving your brain the tools and the resources to say, this is what you are, who you are. Now go keep doing that. And so when people feel like they're living in a loop, they're living in the past, how come life is always the same? Things aren't changing. This is why the brain loves patterns.
Yes.
Okay. And if you're in that pattern and you need to get out, then you're going to need, you can do it on your own, definitely. But it's so much easier when you have someone holding your hand and doing this with you. Okay. So all of
And
this
that
stuff
of
that's
someone who is experienced.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's why I did it this way. Cause I was like, gosh, if I had somebody doing that, how much faster would this have all happened? And I'm talking about more than just my knee healing, like just all of life and the way I wanted my life to be created. So your brain is driving this, and this is not your fault. You're perfectly normal. You just aren't a brain trainer. You don't know how these things back here in your past are influencing your thoughts today. And that's what I didn't know either. So we are having limiting beliefs based on this, which impact money, time, personality, and results. And so the 90 days includes finding your limiting beliefs. And this is so powerful. It's a 2-hour onboarding. And the reason is because as soon as you know those limiting beliefs, then you're aware of them. They might just be running in the background and you're not even aware.
Yes.
And that right there is why you're feeling trapped, why you're feeling stuck. How come you don't know how you're getting the same results? And so the limiting belief is powerful to know, because now you're setting yourself up to go, oh, is that this again? Oh, I know what to do, and giving you the things that you need to do, the skill that you can do on your own to change this for yourself. And then we're going to find your subconscious programs doing 1 hour a week session. So these will be one-on-one sessions for just you to go and find those memories. And you know what? Memories are not stable. In fact, I was just listening to the book, You Can Work Your Own Miracles. And he says in there how we now know, and I don't know when this book was written, probably in the 30s or something. He's like, we now know that memories are not stable. And so we can, when you know how to do it, you can influence and change your memories and practice the happy memories, practice what you needed for when you were younger, when you were in that memory. And so 1 hour a week doing that. And also change your limiting beliefs secret sauce. So this is the way that these are the secrets to doing this for yourself. Okay. And then you're going to be able to message me directly with anything that comes up. And we also have a 1.5 hour, 2 times a week. So now you actually have access to me 3 times in a week. And that's what I think is most powerful, is that you have someone else breathing into you, what you want in life, who you want to be, how to get there, and programming you to set your direction in your brain to find it and to go get it and to be it, instead of constantly in a different loop, in a different brain groove that's not getting you to where you want to go. We all know that Einstein statement, right? If you want to get different results, stop doing the same thing. You know, and we don't understand that it's actually happening in our brain for us. Our brain is so patterned that it runs, what is it, 98.5% of our day. I know it's upwards of 95%. And people, when I first heard that, I thought, that's not true. Like
Yeah, no, I don't accept.
And then I realized, oh, when I tried to brush my teeth with my left hand, that my brain was doing it for me. When I tried to tie my shoe in a different way, my brain was, when I changed my cupboards around and I kept going to the old cupboard, my brain had been doing all of that for me. So if you think that your brain isn't, your automatic brain, your subconscious mind isn't running most of your life, try switching it up. You'll be very surprised
Yes.
how difficult it is. Even my hand movements, you know what? When you stand up and walk, you don't tell your toe, your ligaments, your tendons, you don't tell any of that stuff what to do. It's patterned. It's programmed. You just walk, right? And so that's the power of the subconscious mind. So 1.5 hours, 2 times a week in our Inner Circle Facebook group. We have a Facebook group for you for questions and answers. And we're creating videos right now on how to change yourself, which I'll add to the 90-day program as well. So you have a video that this dives into your own knowing yourself. You know why you want to know yourself? Because then you know how to get yourself out of stuff that happens. Stuff is going to happen in life. But if you know, oh, this song makes me feel this way, or this smell is so good for me, or I feel happy when I do this, and then you're actually motivated to go do that for yourself, then your love, your self-love, your self-care can serve others instead of shutting down and protecting you and going into an own program.
Wow. Isn't it such a wonderful program where in the 90 days a person is going to experience complete shift? Tammy, I have few more questions related to your 90-day program. See, you said 0 to 7 years of age, something happened and they do not know. And no matter what, you gave wonderful examples. Someone is sad, no matter what, someone is always angry. And how much possible is it, because they are underlying in the unconscious and they're not even aware that such beliefs have been formed, such memories have been formed, and the brain is conditioned. So
Right.
how much success rate is there to go to such 0 to 7 memories and access that and become aware of it, Tammy?
And become what?
Become aware of such memories and beliefs, they are even existing. We don't even know that such beliefs
Oh,
are
right.
existing unconsciously.
Oh, it's so true. And I have a great example of that. So if you look through my life, like, okay, the sadness of, what's going on with my ex, the sadness of going through a divorce right there. Like the whole thing was he's living a double life. And then I find out 11 years later, we have 3 kids together. Like that's sadness, right? And then the sadness of the court date, which was the worst day, the worst time in my life, years later. And then the sadness of like, and having a miscarriage, sadness was a real recurring event for me. And that's why I said in my bio, I was like, how come everyone else has luck and I don't? And when I sat with a practitioner and she said, when's the first time you felt this? And I'm like, oh, when I saw my mom crying because she lost her 3-month-old baby, my brother, and I'm only 2 years old. But I have specific memories that are powerful. Why are they more powerful than any other day at church? Because he was at church and he fell asleep and passed away. How come I don't remember?
You could recall at the age of 2-year-old memories also, that
Yeah,
correct?
I think I was 2.5, but there's
Right.
definitely, I mean, of course I've heard stories
Yeah.
since then, but I definitely had 2 resources that I remember very vividly in that church. And so, and whatever you hear is a memory.
Yes.
So when I hear a story, what do I do inside my head?
Relive it.
Yeah. And for me, it's
Make it
videos.
real. Yes.
For me, it's videos. So I'm like watching a video of my mom, like running in and crying and, oh, all of these things. And it doesn't matter if I'm 7 or 10 or 15 or 30. If somebody talks about their baby dying, where does my mind go? Yeah,
Sadness.
because I've heard the stories and I do have memory of it. And I didn't think it affected me at all. I was like, yeah, he was 3 months old, no big deal. Right. Until I had kids, then I realized like 3-month-old is important. But before that, when I was a teenager, oh, you had a brother before? And I'm like, oh, yeah, but he was only 3 months old. It didn't bother me. Subconsciously, I stored what sadness is.
Okay.
I stored that trauma because of the look on my mom's face, the way that, her sadness played out throughout the years because of that incident. And that's not her fault. And it's not my fault. It's just how the brain works. Okay. Here's an example of how come those high emotional things take precedent. I say that they're like little soldiers in our brain that kind of lay dormant, but the ones that have the most emotion lay on top. Okay, so you go to school and every day you go to school and mom picks you up, no big deal. You don't remember any of those days. The day you remember is the day she forgot you or the day she shows up in her pajamas and embarrasses you. You're like, my mom is so embarrassing. Well, yeah, every other day she wasn't embarrassing, but now it meant something because it had a big emotion. And now it pops up whenever, and that's a trigger. Whenever that happens, whenever there's time for embarrassment, your brain goes, oh, I know how to be embarrassed. Mom showed up at school and you turned red and everyone laughed. And you're what? You believed something about yourself. You're the laughing stock. You're the, the kid with the weird mom or whatever it is that you created. And then that becomes your self-image. And so we have to be careful. We need to take those pop-ups, the things that are driving those emotions. Where did we first learn sadness? We weren't born that way, right? Where did we first learn anger? And the power that it's holding is that when our brain is so intelligent and it's running everything for us, that when we're triggered, it picks up those pop-ups and it goes, replay this. This is how you do it. And when I realized, oh, and then she asked me, like, where do you feel that sadness? I'm like, oh my gosh, like my throat is constricting. Like there's a huge ball in my throat. And there's no ball in my throat. I created that feeling to be what I feel when I'm sad. That's what I did inside of myself. And so we learn to let all of those sensations go and instead move into what we want in life.
So that's brain trainer for us. So you simplified the entire process so easily that now I'm able to relate it. So thank you for that explanation.
Right.
It really
and it takes the questions, like we know the questions to ask that are going to drive you back to those ages where you're being programmed. It's like a computer. If your computer's not programmed and they program 2 + 2 = 6,
no.
That's going to be the answer. No matter how mad you get, no matter what else you try to do, it's always going to say 2 + 2 = 6 until you go back and reprogram it. So before the age of 7, I learned this is how I do sadness, and that I needed to focus on it, but it's not true. It's just the way it was programmed. Yeah.
Awesome. And what is this neuro happiness all about? Tammy? What is this? It's neuro happiness. I love the word as well. Did you
I
find
call
this
it
term?
neuro happiness because your brain is your neurology. That's the control center.
Mhm.
And if you have the groove to happiness, it doesn't matter what happens in life, you'll automatically be positive. So you remember, I was trying so hard to be positive. I was in that trying, I was in that fix it, I was in that what's wrong with me groove. And when you create the groove, the neurology, the neural path to happiness, then your brain will go down that path all the time. And then when bad things happen, you say, oh, I wonder how this is turning out for my benefit. I wonder who's going to have a better result or a better life because this happened. And it doesn't become, oh, this is so bad. This is so sad. How are we going to live through it? How are we going to deal with this? It becomes, oh, it's kind of like that one door closed and another door open mindset, but it's actually true for me now. It's actually true that okay, yeah, I can see this. And now what? And what does that mean about the future? And how does that benefit me in the future? And how does it create my life better because this happened? And that's a natural result of having neuro happiness, a big, deep groove. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great.
And Tammy, you say that you're a brain trainer, right? So what kind of trainings do you offer and how are they beneficial for a person?
Yes. So all of what I've been talking about is brain training.
Yeah.
And so we do have a YouTube channel. I can get you the link for that right now. Me and another level 4 practitioner are doing Ask the Brain Trainers, because if you're stuck and you don't know how your brain works, then all you need is someone to tell you. All right. So here's an example of brain training. I had a friend who had a car accident, and her little daughter, every time they went by the site of the accident, she was little, like 2 years old, she would say, oh, no, And she's like, what should I do? Because we're all like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. You know, I'm like, you start laughing. And she's like, what? I'm like, you say, oh, yes, isn't this wonderful? Look at that beautiful spot. You change her neurology based on how you treat this location, which seems like it doesn't make sense, right? Seems like, well, it's bad. You should let her feel sad. You should let her be bad. How long do you want a 2-year-old to feel sad? Because if you create that neural pathway, it might be their lifetime. Okay. So training the brain means you look at what's going on inside the brain. You look at the resources. Are you seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, touching it, tasting it? What bothers you about it? Letting it go, letting it change, using happy memories, happy places, happy emotions. When you're in a happy memory, it's pretty hard to be angry. In fact, you can't. And then you go back and let your brain adjust those memories, let it adjust the circumstances that are happening automatically. And then it will automatically do for you what you want it to do instead of getting the same result.
Wow.
So yeah, so brain training is all about, okay, so when I used to study therapy, then therapy was, if you talk about it, you'll feel better. Brain training is, you know, if you need to talk about it to totally change it, do that, change it, and then practice the new memory. Brain training is you're going to practice what you want. You're going to change the trajectory of what you believed about that and make it something good.
That is awesome. So that's
Yes.
the reason you could actually experience this shift and helping others also to experience this shift. Tammy, your journey has been very, very inspiring. And friends, whoever is curious to know more about the 90-day program or want to work with Tammy, I'm going to provide all the required links in the YouTube description and also share it over Facebook. So thank you once again for your time, and I love your energies and your patience with which everything that you have explained so detailed. And it's always see, we read in different books. Someone healed, someone did this, and now I'm able to talk to someone who lived, who experienced, and also is teaching the same thing for others as well. So that's a uh, amazing experience for me as well personally, Tammy. So
Aw,
so
that's
thank you
wonderful. Well,
very
thank
much.
you for opening this up and sharing. And I hope that it gives insight into, like, there's so much hope when you know that
Yes,
all you need to know is how.
yes.
All you need to know is how, and you can do it for yourself.
And there is help
Right.
already available. So, friends,
Yes,
there's help available. Reach out, and definitely it will shift.
that's right.
Seek help. There's nothing wrong. And you know what, Tammy? I come across like, oh, I'm seeking help. Is it sign of weakness? I said no. Seeking help is sign of strength, because you
Yes.
are shifting. It's not dependency. You get help, and there are wonderful experts across the world who are there to help and who have lived and proven the results. So thank you very much, Tammy. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nizam. Bye-bye.
Bye.